Well, welcome to this Cabinet meeting today for Newcastle and Lyme Borough Council's Cabinet. Welcome to our Cabinet members, welcome to officers, and welcome to those that are joining us on YouTube to view this today, either live or if you're watching a recording of this. If you'd like to see the agenda for this meeting, please go to the Council's website and you'll find it in the committee papers section. First item on the agenda is apologies. Do I have any from Cabinet members? No, we're all in attendance. That's Councillor Simon Tagg, Leader of the Council, Councillor Sweeney, Deputy Leader, and Councillor Trevor Johnson, who's in the room with us, who's our Recycling and Environment Portfolio Holder. And joining us online, we've got Councillor Paul Northcote, Planning and Growth, and then Helena Maxfield, Community Safety, and then Jill Waring, who's our Heritage and Leisure Portfolio Holder. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do I have any from members of the committee? No. Okay. Item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting. They're attached on page 5 to 10 in our agenda. Can we agree those as the correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you, everybody. Moving to item number 4, which is our coronavirus recovery update. Latest instalment. We've been having these since the coronavirus pandemic started in the spring. As everybody will know, since our last Cabinet meeting, when we'd emerged from lockdown, we're back in lockdown via tier 3 and 4. That has obviously led to council services such as J2 and the museum being closed again, and has obviously causing a lot of discomfort for business and our communities. Our report in front of us today is split into the usual sections. We've got our support for business, support for vulnerable people, council services, the economic recovery and the financial recovery. Just before we get into each of those sections, just comments about the infection rate within Newcastle. Obviously has been rising, as you can see there in the report. When this report was published on Monday, 347. A bit of a chink of light of good news. It's now stabilised and is going down slightly within the borough, and I think that is replicated elsewhere in the county. There are higher figures in the south of the county, but the north of the county, Moorlands particularly, and ourselves haven't had those higher levels yet, but we do see on the last couple of days a slight fall. And if you look at the obviously the timescales, that would coincide with at least tier 4 or the start of lockdown for the borough. So perhaps early to say yet, but we might be seeing a turn in the figures. Obviously, reflecting that is the fact that vaccinations are taking place now within the borough. And that's a really positive sign. And the vaccination centres, particularly in the Rycroft and there's one also in the north of the borough, and there are more planned as well as the rollout, and also the bigger centres which people can travel to are coming online fast, and the government are committed to get those vulnerable people, those elderly people that need to be vaccinated done within weeks, so that we can begin to see a back end of these lockdowns and get back to some sort of more normality. We're a long way from there. We're in probably the darkest point if you read some of the national headlines, but hopefully that's just before the dawn of better times ahead. So we're working closely with our partners within the borough still, and also our partners across the county, and also our health partners more and more, helping with the comms to do with vaccinations. We don't have any role ourselves as a borough council in the vaccinations, but a key role, I think, to reassure our communities that the vaccinations are coming, and that also pointing them in the right direction when they need to, when things don't quite go right with that. It is a massive process. The army are involved. I'm really pleased to hear that. But again, it won't go smoothly because these things never can on this such scale. And we must be there to signpost and help our residents, particularly elderly ones who are waiting for their vaccine, so that they get that reassurance and get the jab they need to begin to help us to get out of this. So moving to the priority areas, support for business is really top of the list for me, and it's first in this. And I'm going to hand over to Steve now just to talk about some of the business grants that we've been distributing on the back of the government's latest handouts.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. I think we all heard Alex Sharma talking on, I think it was Tuesday, about helping our retail, hospitality and leisure businesses, which have obviously been hugely impacted by what's going on. And on Friday, we were told about this on Tuesday, and on Friday, I'm very proud to announce actually this council paid out £4.5 million in grants to these businesses. I think the turnaround from being told to do it and doing it is absolutely superb. I'd like to praise anybody on this council who's involved. I think it's an excellent result. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. And I think that turnaround, yeah, we've decided to really go for early, because we know these businesses, particularly hospitality, have been shut for what seems like months, because it is months now. And I think those grants, even though not as high as the first time round, they are to take people through to hopefully what will be, you know, relaxing in the spring, so they can begin to open again. Shops, businesses, they're going to be the lifeblood of the recovery, and you know, our residents work in those businesses and those hospitality and bars and restaurants and smaller shops. So it's key that they keep going during this period so that they can reopen. And well done to you, Steve, as well, for focusing on that to get those grants out. And good on all the staff that have worked, I'm sure, on and above the time that they would usually be working for the council to get those out at the end of last week. So thanks go to everybody. Opening it up to any comments on the support for business part of the agenda. Don't see anybody indicating. Okay, we'll move to the support for the vulnerable. I'll bring in Helena Maxfield, our portfolio holder. Helena.
Thank you. Yes, as it says there, we continue to support our vulnerable people across the borough. Our SWEP, our severe weather emergency protocol, has been active since the 24th of December, and accommodation has been offered to these customers who currently need to get off the streets with it being so cold. It was activated 2 nights last week in our St George's chambers, and we have got the continued access through our rough sleeper team and our navigator, who are working with and encouraging engagement with these members of our borough. In light of the guidance that came through with this latest lockdown of everyone in initiative, it's been reactioned, and that means therefore that all of our verified rough sleepers need to be accommodated. And again, you know, hats off to our teams for ensuring that the engagement and the offer of support through either accommodation or additional services is there. So that's where we are at the moment. We are still continuing, and I open up to any comments.
Okay, thank you, Helen. I think also what we've had, as well as having lockdowns and goodness knows what over Christmas and New Year, we've had one of the worst weather events for the past few years for Newcastle. I think we've probably more than most areas, we've had probably more snow than most areas this year. The way it turned out, usually it's the other way around, and that has led to temperatures being sub-zero for those required days to open up that temporary accommodation, and that's been offered, and well done to the team there. We've been working over the Christmas and New Year period to do that, and as Helena says, it's there for people when they need and require it. I'm going to bring in Paul Northcott now.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Leader. My hand was up for the previous question, but you didn't see it in time. Okay, but I'll add my 10 pence to this anyway. I think it's vital that we continue as the coronavirus takes a bit of a bite of residents, literally in our community. It's important that we make sure that the vulnerable don't slip through the net, and then we keep that support bubble around them as much as we can. That's about it, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Moving on then to council services. Obviously, as we've talked about, coronavirus having a massive effect, but also on our frontline services to residents. We've had that snow over Christmas and New Year. So hand over to Trevor, our portfolio holder for environment recycling and our street scene operations.
Yes, well, we've actually been very, very lucky. I mean, over the last 2 weeks, we had one member of the team off shielding. That's all we've had, you know, and what's all, 2 weeks later, we're back on track. Even if the leader may not agree with me, we are back on track.
No, I like the phrase, Trevor, back on track, yeah.
Right, we've got by last night, we had one or two houses and some flats that were still to be collected, and there was still an access problem. I've been given daily updates by Andrew, and I cannot praise the crews highly enough for what we've achieved over this last 2 weeks. You know, we basically threw the kitchen sink at it. I mean, that's street scenery in there, everybody. We had food collection wagons collecting cardboard. We put everything we got on the streets, and it seems to have been appreciated by the public. I'm not normally one to watch social media, but I was quite pleased with some of the responses that we got. The one thing I did notice during this is the grit bins around the borough not being topped up. And so I'm actually in dialogue with the county at the moment, and I would like every county councillor to get onto them, just to give them a bit of a nudge to make sure the grit bins are full, because then the public will assist us, you know, keeping the pavements clear. But apart from that, that's it. So.
Okay, no, I think I'll back you on what you said about the way the new recycling system has held up over the snowy period. Of course, we know a couple of years ago when there was the last snow event over Christmas and New Year in the old system, it took about a month for us to get back on track. The vehicles weren't suitable even to go out in the slightest ice and snow, and I'm really pleased that we've managed to get out and collect as much as possible. And where we've missed and residents have complained, we've reacted very quickly, and I've had some good reports back from my ward on you know, the staff persevering to get it during the snow, and then also catching up very quickly. Even when they were due to come later in the week for a residual, they collected it on the Saturday before because they missed the week before. So I think that's a real credit to the team, and it's worked really well. I think there's always learning things to come out of this, and we've learned along the way as well on how to do it better as well.
We had 30 volunteers for New Year's Day.
Yes.
I mean, that says something about our workforce.
Yes, I'm working on the Saturday and Sundays in between Christmas and New Year as well, which has worked out well. Even with the bad weather, we kept collecting on target as much as we could. Steve?
Yeah, you're a bit modest there, Trevor. I'd like to sing your praises and your people's praises. I think it's been excellent. Heaven only knows what it's been like on the old system. But this system, I think it's recovered well. I think you people have done a great job. I saw some photos on, say the word, Facebook. I had a look at of the state of some of these roads, these lorries, these big bin lorries having to drive down. I don't fancy doing it. I think they've been superb, and I thank you for that, Trevor, and I thank your staff for it as well. It doesn't seem that long ago that come Christmas time, you were given 2 black bin bags to put your rubbish in because it wasn't going to collect it for 2 weeks over Christmas. And I don't know how many years ago, it was 10 years, 15, 20, I don't know. But what a change. What a change councils have got now that we produce this level of work. And thank you much, Trevor, I think you've done.
Thank you, Steve. I'm going to bring in Jill Waring, portfolio holder for leisure, etc., just to talk about some of the services in her area that have been affected by, obviously, the lockdown since and the tier 4 before that came about over Christmas and New Year. Jill.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, it's a really difficult time for all of us, isn't it? The knock-on effect of this virus in terms of leisure and activities. I know it's hard hitting now. You know, some of the people I speak to. That said, I do think the council's doing a really good job helping and supporting people. Jubilee 2, like everywhere else in the country, is closed, but we are providing online activities to try and help with this. The museum's having the extension started soon, so that'll be something to look forward to. Yeah, I mean, you know, 3 members of my family have been vaccinated, and, you know, I'm really grateful for that. And it's a good start, and I hope it continues and we see the end of it and we can get Jubilee 2 and the museum open as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jill. I'm sure we're working on a plan for when we can do that safely. And it gives us time also to work on some of the problems within J2 that we talked about at previous cabinet meetings, doesn't it? Why it's closed, we can crack on and do some of those repairs and works that need to be done on that building as well. But I think as for other developments in the sports and leisure area, the work has started on the stripping out of Kidsgrove Sports Centre, as it's a construction site. That's allowed to go ahead at the moment. So hopefully that will continue under lockdown. So work has started spending the money from the Advanced Town deal on our new our refurbed new sports centre in Kidsgrove, which will hopefully open in early 2022. Any other comments on council services? I don't see any hands up on screen here at the moment. So we'll move on to the next section, which is economic recovery. And I think it talks about there the Future High Streets Fund. Well, the big news since the last cabinet meeting is that we've been awarded that over 11 million towards the Future High Streets Fund, the Rycroft site, the old civic offices, the old Sainsbury's, and also some other works in town will benefit from that, and we're going to get cracking on that if we can as soon as possible, that contracts can be awarded to get work on the Rycroft side up and running. And we've got later on our agenda the town deal for Newcastle. The Kidsgrove town deal is in. We hope to hear within weeks about that. Hopefully another important cash injection for the borough. And that's will lead us out into recovery from this, and we'll be ready to go for recovery when, just like you, Jill, I know people now that have had the vaccine, which is really, really good, that it's getting out into the community. And the more and more of that is, each one is a jab to freedom, isn't it, for us all, and a jab for us to get back on track, as you said, Trevor, in all areas of the council's work, and that includes the economic recovery. Going to bring in Paul now.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, we've already heard from the Deputy Leader about the 4.5 million funding that was put into the businesses last Friday. Economic recovery must take place after we've been able to keep businesses afloat, to get them through this vital time. The council has been committed to making sure that support's in place. But working with our partners, we need to look at the recovery side of things, and this is vital, that we need to make sure that as we make that transition from maybe when government funding does run out or comes to an end, and we're hoping that the vaccinations has helped to install a bit more confidence in businesses, that we need to carry on with topping up businesses to hold those that are start-up businesses, to work with partners such as Staffordshire County Council, to look at upskilling where necessary. And obviously we haven't seen the impact of unemployment. In fact, at the moment, from the statistics that I've been given from the DWP, is the figures are actually down on last month, and people have actually come off the register. There's going to be some point where we expect to see a little bit of an increase in terms of maybe redundancies or jobless, but we need to be ready for that. We need to be ready to bounce back and to meet that. We need to make those transitions and to try to facilitate those that have got skills and match them into skilled professions where they are available. We've heard that there's major logistics vacancies in the area. There was 200 in the previous month that remain vacant, and they went out to agents to try and get those vacancies filled. This is a positive thing for Newcastle, that those jobs are there during this, especially the challenging times, and the economic recovery that the Borough Council is following here is fundamental to make sure that as a borough we bounce back across the board. So I welcome this going forward. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Paul. Any other comments on the economic recovery? Okay. Oh, Steve.
Only quickly. I just think that this is an exciting time for Newcastle. I think to have £11 million given to us to help the town, I think is phenomenal. It's a levelling up agenda the government talks about, and I honestly can see a very, very bright future for Newcastle. I think this is tremendous news. Thank you.
Thank you. Financial recovery is the last section. I assume we're going to be talking budgets in a bit, aren't we, on the next item? But is there anything further you want to say about the support from the government during this period?
I've talked about the £4.5 million that we've had from the government. That's all split out on this. It tells you where the money is coming from. It'll also be on the budget to a lesser extent, and also £30 million to fund grants to businesses, which is the sum total now what we're giving. Now that's not our money; it's money that we're passporting out, but we receive from here and we use the Borough Council as the tool to send the money out. But they're two big things these are, and the government has listened to our request for support and has been forthcoming in doing it. And I thank everybody, including the MPs, the LJ, our officers, ourselves, everybody else for doing that. And a listening government that has listened to people's and it's not put its money because it's our money, it's put our money where its mouth is to support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, and we'll hear more about that in the budget setting paper, which is up next. Okay, so we've looked through that. Obviously, a very worrying time for many people. But what we can do as the council is ensure the the bins are collected, the streets are clean, and the advice is there through the work we do with the Realise Foundation support staff to give help to people who will be worried, suffering issues. There's help out there, and contact details of all of those are on the council's website and also on the county council's website as well. And up to date through our social media as well, both on Facebook and Twitter, to get the most up to date information on not only where you can get a test, but also where you can obviously get support, and also updates on the vaccination programme as and when we get it. Okay, recommendation is that we endorse the report, and we've obviously debated it. So can we agree the recommendation?
Agreed.
Agree.
And our next item is the Revenue and Capital Budget Strategy 21-22, and Steve's going to introduce this item.
Okay, thank you, Leah. Yes, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to present significant challenges to the council and to every council that comes to financial position through a mixture of lost income and additional costs. However, it is forecast that the council will achieve a balanced outturn for 2021. That's this year we're in now. Support from the central government of £4.5 million to compensate the council in relation to coronavirus has been unprecedented and has massively assisted in meeting current and future pressures. Further support has been promised for the first quarter of 21-22, which is good news because we weren't really expecting that. So that's very, very good news. Talking about next year's, the budget gap was £1.275 million. Via an efficiency board that all members spoke to department heads, we've closed that gap. Managers have agreed feasible and sustainable solutions to close that gap. So we've got a balanced budget for next year. The One Council programme undertaken over 21-23 is a redesign of organisational structures, processes and technology underpinned by changes in cultural leadership and governance, expected to save £195,000 next year, and after 3 years, £922,000 a year. Now that's going on forever. That's not just 1 year. That is what it'll save each year. Staff-related efficiencies save £599,000 with no redundancies. Council tax increase, we're putting forward a £5 increase, which is 10 pence a week or less for 81% of our households. I do that because it's done on band D for some reason or other. So anything less than band D or downwards is going to be £5 or less. We've also got a £250 contribution to our Borough Growth Fund to enable continued investment in sustainable environment projects during the period of the medium-term financial strategy. We're also increasing the level of reserves from 1.548 million to 3.1 million. This will help to safeguard the long-term financial resilience and reflects the additional risks that the council may become exposed to. It's a prudent sort of policy. It's a very sensible policy. The capital programme for 21-22 includes £4,600,000 for refurbish and reopening Kidsgrove Pool, on top of the £1 million this year for the benefit of the people of Kidsgrove. I'd like to thank, as I said before, the MPs for their support, the government for listening, the LGA for putting our cases forward, and our finance team, who on top of everything else have produced a audit report that came out as unqualified, which is as good as you get. Balancing this year's budget and setting next year's budget, I think is a tremendous achievement. I think it's a robust budget. I think it's a realistic budget, which is most important, and I'm very, very happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, endorse everything you've said. Our proposals for the strategy are in Appendix 1, 2, 3, which have all the figures there showing where we're going to be making the savings and where we're also investing money, etc. And also our capital programme, which is a very buoyant capital programme going forward, just when we need it. I think I'll emphasise what you said, Steve, about the £5 a year increase, if any reporters are listening in on this. But if you're in the average sort of band B or C, which most residents are in the borough, you're talking between £3.89 per year or £4.44 per year. Now, I haven't nipped out to find out what you can buy from the shop from those, but I could hold it up now and say, this is what you're going to get for an extra you have to pay a year. I think that's I keep emphasising that. So it's good value for money for the council services, particularly as we've delivered on the recycling improvements, which people wanted. The streets are kept clean. There's an available and efficient planning service when required by those that want planning applications, residents that want extensions or other things like that. And we're providing the things we need to provide, but only a very small percentage of the council tax actually comes to Newcastle Borough Council. The vast majority goes to the county council. I think it's over 80%. And a massive part of the county councils goes on social care as well. So that's for them to sort out. We don't have those responsibilities here, but for what we do, I think it's value for money, and I'll be happy to support this when it goes to council at the end of February. I'll open it up now to views from cabinet members. Anything from in the room? No? Anything from any other cabinet members? Please put your hands up if you'd like to speak. I don't see any. So we've got you've been so good there, Steve, with your introduction. You just won everybody over in one fell swoop. So we've got recommendations A to J. And I think the important one at this stage is J, because we are referring this to the Finance, Assets and Partnership Scrutiny Committee for comment. And then we'll have a special cabinet on the special cabinet, next cabinet on the 3rd of February even, 2021, when we will then make the final recommendations to the council meeting, which has to be held by the first week of March 2021. So can we all agree those recommendations as printed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Back to our agenda. The next item is scales of fees and charges associated with the budget, what we've just agreed to forward. And again, Steve is going to introduce this paper. Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Not a huge amount to say. We put a budget in the MTFS of 3% increases on fees and charges, but that has a couple of big exceptions. We're freezing car parking for obvious reasons, really, for the town centre, sports town centre. We're also freezing all planning planning fees. So apart from that, it's 3% or zero. There's a lot of it being frozen, but those are two big pluses. Thank you.
Okay, just on those two freezes, I think freezing on the parking is the right thing to do, but also we're keeping going our £1 after one initiative, which means that anybody can come into the town and obviously hopefully in the spring when the businesses are open, and park there from 1 PM till 8 AM, and it's a £1 flat charge. And then of course the council car parks are free on a Sunday and are being tied in with our Sunday markets so that people can come in and park for free on those. So I'll open it up to comments or any questions to Steve from cabinet members on the scale of fees and charges. Don't see anybody indicating. I think that second recommendation there is to be noted as well, Steve, isn't it? The Jubilee 2 review there as well, which is in conjunction with our portfolio holder to implement the revised membership pricing structure to offer to attract new membership to J2, obviously when it's open and hopefully firing to all cylinders in the spring. Fingers crossed. Any comments on that before we move to the recommendations? No? Okay, all agreed, A and B?
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Good. Next item is the Business Improvement District Newcastle Town Centre rebid. Pleased to bring this today. Obviously, anybody that's followed the bid will know it should have been up for election last spring, but of course the government gave an extension because of the COVID. But we've as a bid, I'm a bid board member, of course, so I say we are going for the rebid this spring, and we as the council have a responsibility to operate the ballot. We also have a number of votes as rate paying. It was a bit within the town for the many assets that the council administers on behalf of the residents of Newcastle. And I think the bid has had a successful couple of years. They've helped the council and paid with the council for the CCTV upgrade. Fast on the heels of that is the town centre free Wi-Fi scheme, which will be coming up. They've helped businesses to reopen after the lockdowns as well, and they put together a programme for the next 5 years, which is attached to the report, which will help our town centre recover from the COVID problems, and also help us to forge that new idea for a town centre, which is a destination. It's a place to live. It's a place to come and do your local shopping, and also to enjoy a night out, and also enjoy time out in the day at restaurants and pubs. I think the bid, has got challenges. Anybody will say that in this environment. It's got to really pull its socks up to help the businesses, and I think it's going to do that. I think, and as a board member, I will ensure that happens for the council's money that it puts into the bid, and every business that contributes to the bid should expect that. And going forward through implementing this plan, which has been put forward by the bid board, and will go to each business in the borough for their views and their support in the ballot. I think we have a bid that can take the town forward and help the council and work with the council on all the responsibilities it has in the town centre to keep the market going, to keep a vibrant properties and shops available for traders to come in and new businesses to start. And I think through this prospectus, they can do that, and through a bid board, working with the bid staff, we can bring about those changes. So the recommendations is that we note the requirement of the council to operate the ballot and the collection of the levy if the successful vote goes through in line with the regulations covering bids, and that note the prospectus which is attached for the bid duration 2021-26, and to support the bid in its efforts for a successful bid outcome. And that myself, as the portfolio holder for corporate and service improvement, peoples and partnerships, is authorised to vote yes for each of the council's hereditaments, which are our rateable interests within the town centre, for the bid to have its new term and to help to take our town centre forward in partnership with us. I'll open it out to any questions and comments. Steve?
And I just support you, sir. I think bid working in conjunction with the Borough Council is an excellent combination, and I absolutely support the further what's the word? Further term.
Further term.
I think it's an excellent combination between the two of us. Thank you.
Okay, open it up to any other comments from cabinet members. If you could indicate online if you wish to speak. Your mic's off, Helena. Were you looking to speak? No, it's on again. Okay,
Sorry.
That was a quick finger shuffle there on that. Well done. So recommendations before us. Do we all agree?
Agreed.
Excellent.
Agreed.
Thank you. We'll take that forward. Thanks, Paul. And item 8 is the Newcastle Town Deal, pages 223 to 228. This is the next town deal we're looking to submit. Everybody will be aware we've at the cabinet a couple of times ago we agreed the Kidsgrove town deal. This is the town version. 2 town deals in our borough, and if you turn to page 223, you'll see the objectives that are set out in the town investment plan, which isn't near completion just yet. There is still a way to go. We're looking at this preempting this time, whereas with the Kidsgrove town deal, we actually agreed retrospectively that we support it. This time, we can look at the objectives before they are submitted, and one of them is a smart Newcastle and digital infrastructure. Second is transport, mainly sustainable transport within the town centre and also out into the area that's covered by the town deal. And then obviously development of sites, which is a key part of this and supplements our future High Streets Fund bid, which we talked about earlier. We got some money for. That's the key gateways, development of the Nutton master plan, and Chesterton cross street development. And then finally objective 4, culture, and that's development of the idea of Astley and also the International Centre for Performing Arts, which will fit quite nicely with our Performing Arts Centre at the college, which has gained a lot of recognition over the last few years, and a way of taking into account the history of Newcastle as the birthplace of the modern circus. So those are the objectives. We've got no snazzy video to show this time, but we will have later. We're early on in the process here, and but it's important we get this right. It's important that we get a good bid in, so we can get a slab of money again on top of the Future High Streets Fund that will make a real difference to our town, not just necessarily the town centre, which was the thrust of the Future High Streets Fund, but our town centre in general, and the wards affected and benefiting are on the front of the agenda. All the urban wards of Newcastle plus Chesterton and up to Crackley, Silverdale and Nutton. But I'll hand over to Steve now, who sits for the council on the town deal board, to give any more updates on
No, not a massive lot really. I think you've covered most of it. I think the digital side of things, I think the Wi-Fi that will be coming to the town centre will be as good as any you get in the country. It's good for our businesses to move into town. Objective 4, culture. Now, there's a belief, I think, with a lot of these bids that if you Tipp-Ex the name of the council out, they're all more or less the same. So you need something that is going to make you stand out, make you different. And I think building on the Philip Astley legacy of the founder of the Modern Circus, and having an Astley International Centre of Performing Arts might be the thing that makes us a little bit different from every other bid that's going around. But no, I mean, I got elected to this council in 2006. In 2006, I think we were talking about master plans and this, that, and the other. And this money actually gives us a chance to do something with that now and to take it forward. And I think it's an exciting scheme. This is connectivity. It's developed to key sites. I mean, the old Ritzy, Zanzibar, whatever you want to call it, is an eyesore. And this gets us a chance to get rid of that. The cultural element with the Philip Astley thing. No, I think it's a very, very, very innovative and exciting perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Bring in Paul.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Deputy Leader, as well. It is exciting times. It is brilliant that Newcastle has got this injection, that's this clear investment potential that's ahead of us for the many strands that it's going to be able to provide, such as kickstarting the housing development in deprived areas, and to look at a Nutton master plan that the Deputy Leader has already referred to look how we can improve areas that significantly that have been historically been neglected and haven't had that investment. So this is a chance now to bring that area of land and that community up in line with its neighbours, such as Silverdale, which may have had a little bit more of investment in the past. But also, importantly, the monies will release the conversion of the Pikes building in the town centre, which has got the employment support service and the support of partners across the board. We've been working with Aspire's Realise, and they've confirmed they will fund a full-time coordinator post to work in that hub, which will provide successful family employment initiative, which was previously adopted in Nutton. Of course, it's a partnership model of delivery, which has been very successful via the Colfield and Regeneration Trust funding, but also to upskills in terms of what we've got of our local skills needs, so the business enterprise support Staffish, for example, and I'll provide that umbrella for those services that are keen to work with residents and businesses in the town centre and give the Newcastle town centre that identity to respond against the background of COVID-19 pandemic and its effects. So as part of the development of the town investment plan, this is a universal thing that's got many strands to it that'll help many areas. It is hoped, as well as visually bringing the town up to modern standards that you perhaps expect to have in a modern town. And I welcome this investment, and I can't wait to see it delivered further down the line. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Paul. Any other comments, Trevor?
I think it's wonderful, that we're driving towards a new area of prosperity that Newcastle is going to become. Really feel that vibe. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Trevor. Any other comments? Okay, just to to make the first recommendation a bit more relevant, I'd like to change it to that the Cabinet, notes the draft submission for the Newcastle Town Deal Investment Fund and gives obviously authorisation to the Deputy Leader who sits on the town deal board to use his vote at the appropriate time to support the submission. I think that's probably the best way to do it, rather than it isn't a finished product, so we can't endorse a submission, but we can certainly note and support the draft which is before us today. And then obviously Stephen as our rep on the board of the town deal, can then use his vote to finalise and send in this to government within the next few weeks. So if we can just change recommendation 1, everybody agree that, we'll then support 2, 3 and 4, which will set us in good stead, hopefully, for a good bid to the government, and that will complement the Kids Grove bid and also the Future High Streets Fund bid for the town, and will bring in multi-million pounds worth of investment from the government into Newcastle that we can make a real difference, as Trevor has said, as Paul has said, as Stephen has said. We can make a real once-in-a-generation change to our town for the better, all parts of the town, including our second town, Kids Grove, as well. So all agreed recommendations?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Next one is the next item before us is item 9, the local plan update. Hand over to Paul to introduce this for us.
Thank you very much, Leader. Cabinet members, you'll see the report in front of you, and you'll also recollect that the previous cabinet meeting on the 9th of December, we commissioned officers to look at whether we would be better going alone or proceeding with the joint local plan. It was a chance to temperature check where we are. I don't intend to go through every single item on this report because it'd probably take at least 1.5 hours as we've been updating members on this as we've been going along. The background to this is quite long and complex. We've been going down the line of the joint local plan now for 7 years. It has become apparent that we thought that as an administration that there was some elements that perhaps weren't being addressed with the direction of the local plan, hence that we commissioned the report. Now I have to thank the head of planning, Sean Fleet, and this head of policy, Gemma Marsh, for the work they've put in on this in terms of formalising this report for members to consider today. They put in a great amount of detail in terms of where we want to go and where we wish to explore to make sure that we're making the right decision. And the purpose of this report is to provide cabinet members with that information, hopefully, and the recommendation that you adopt this and we adopt the recommendations. But we had to go through, as a result of last cabinet meeting, we had to go through the consultation process. We had to sort of talk to parish councils, for example, key stakeholders. And to do that, we employed Lichfield Planning Consultancy Service and Advice. And they brought back some interesting results that we've managed to elicit from all over the borough. In terms of the 3 key areas. Now, the main concerns of the administration was that over the last year, there's been some significant changes. These have been obviously the Brexit, the opportunities that this could evolve to, and obviously we've got COVID-19 that's made a heck of a dent in terms of the economic situation and whether we're oven ready in terms of responding to the uptake from that. You've heard from the previous papers on this administration through cabinet that we think we're in a good position, we're in a positive position to bounce back from that. But other changes that have occurred, which is a planning white paper which has been emerging for planning purposes. And the other thing that we need to take into account is the government promoting neighbourhood development plans as the building blocks for local plans. Now, when we looked at the joint local plan, we saw that there were some elemental differences between the two, and the findings from Lichfield's planning consultancy seem to support that there was key elements that were different. For example, if we take the effects of HS2, which are likely to be the next 9 to 10 years on this borough, and we'll dissect the borough from the north to the south. But the two needs of the two authorities are going to be totally different to what they expect out of HS2. That's just one example of how two authorities will be differing. The other thing, as I previously mentioned, is the neighbourhood development plans. This wasn't really mentioned in the joint local plan, and we were in danger of going along with a plan that wasn't really suitable for our borough, Stoke-on-Trent City Council didn't have neighbourhood development plans emerging. We clearly have. I think we've got at least 7 now, 2 adopted, one very near to consultation phase. So it's proceeding quite well. And we've also got Kids Grove that have come to the table in terms of a neighbourhood development plan, which will be very fundamental in terms of informing us where we go. So this is where we are in terms of what we expect. There are risks to this, of course. If we don't have an adopted plan in place, we leave ourselves very open to planning appeals being rejected by the inspectorate and having to take unwanted and inappropriate development in areas that perhaps we wouldn't wish that to happen. This, in line with the findings of Lichfield, adds complexity into the processes, and that in itself causes delay, and probably is why we've struggled in the last 7 years to bring this online and being delivered with all the other things that have gone on in terms of elections, etc., that have interfered when we haven't been able to process information because of PERDA. The complexity of this, having a joint local plan, has obviously been one of the stumbling blocks that's led to significant delay that we find ourselves in this position today. Of course, there was going to be a cost element to this. We've estimated around about £550,000 that it's going to cost, but that this will be primarily absorbed with staffing costs, of course, and there would have been costs that we would have needed to take into account had we pursued the next stage of the joint local plan. Your members, you can see the information there in the report, that we've got some detail in terms of how residents responded to. There was 265 respondents to the questionnaires that went out for the consultation, that gave a very favourable point in the right direction for us, and they're very, very overwhelmingly in support of developing our own local plan. And that's important, that we elicit the opinions and consultations from stakeholders and residents, because this is the very thing that we're going to be looking at over the next 15 years, right up to 2037, and perhaps a little bit further than that, that we have a plan that's fit for purpose. We feel that pursuing a joint local plan at this stage would not benefit the residents and the wholeness of Newcastle Borough. In fact, it would be to the detriment. It wouldn't reflect the changes that have happened in the last year, the major changes. It wouldn't reflect the unique characteristics of the borough. So it seems inappropriate at this time that we follow the joint plan. And Stoke City Council will probably be thinking the same. That their aspirations and the way that their plan has developed over the last 7 years will have changed. They will have to take into account their unique effects from the departure from the European Union and COVID and how they respond to it. So I think for the best for both authorities is that we do pursue separate local plans and have those complexities and issues that get into the way of securing the planning process, and in order to bring this to the delivery stage in a timely fashion. It's envisaged that we ideally will bring it to 2023 without those complexities that add to the process. We feel that there's significant gains that we can achieve in terms of the catch-up and using the information that we've already managed to glean from previous consultations and information gathering exercises, and also the relevant, still up-to-date information that we've had gathered during our journey on this over the last 3 or 4 years. So when we first embarked on this, we thought we'd maybe be having to retake every single snapshot that we would require to a dedicated borough local plan, but that isn't the case. So there is some significant gains from this. It will be reflective of what the needs for Newcastle will be. And I recommend this report, and to take into account on section, I think it's 3.3, that we adopt the proposal on section 4, 3.3, to support the development of the borough local plan. And the Cabinet may wish to adopt the following resolutions to withdraw from the preparation of the joint local plan with Stoke-on-Trent City Council. 2, to commence work on the development of the borough local plan under the stewardship of a member steering group chaired by myself or the leader of the council or relevant portfolio holder at the time. And 3, to make provision in the medium-term financial plan for the costs associated with delivering a borough local plan, which I've mentioned as 550,000 estimated costs for the period of 2021-2023, to bring this to delivery stage. So the proposal is laid out there before you, Cabinet members, and the recommendation in the report. I hope that that you'll support this, as the residents and the information that we've had so far back on this have supported the fact that we go it alone. And I'll leave it into your capable hands. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Paul, for a full and explanatory version of the events there. Thanks. For me, when we had a discussion at the last Cabinet, I mean, we put forward that this joint local plan was out of date. It wasn't borough-centric. We'd have difficulty getting it through, I feel, and it would be a lot of work later down the line to put it right. We might as well cut our losses and work for a plan for Newcastle. I think what's come back from Lichfield's, our consultants, has backed that view up. You add to that, as you said, Paul, the Brexit, the COVID-19, the white paper, and all of those things mean that we need an up-to-date Newcastle-based local plan for our borough that takes account of the varying needs of our borough, both the rural, the Kidsgrove area, the Newcastle town, the Newcastle south, and that's first and foremost in our thoughts, really, as we go forward. I'd like to thank the consultees that have put forward, particularly the County Council, who are backing what we do today and will support us in what we do today, and will obviously help us with their staff. They've got highway skills, they've got planning and also the flooding, flood risk officers, etc., will help us to update our plan from a Newcastle point of view now as we move forward. And I think it's a really important thing that we're doing today, and sets a message out to everybody that Newcastle Borough is as well as being a partner to them, is also making sure that it's got a local plan that suits its area and suits its development in the future, both on housing, jobs, and take some of the opportunities which probably wouldn't be high up in a joint local plan with Stoke, but are high up in our plans, will be central focused in our local plan as we go forward. I think the timescale set out by Lichfields, and also which was what was in our report last time. It is challenging, but I'm afraid it's going to have to be done, and we're going to, as you said, Paul, steering group will be chaired by myself or yourself with our officers, and be focused into informal cabinet or informal cabinet meeting to keep on top of this and to project manage this to ensure we meet those deadlines and move forward as fast as we can to get that local plan in place. I think the last thing I'll say is those you pointed the neighbourhood plans. Yes, the joint local plan was seemed to be put together in oblivious to neighbourhood plans, and we're trying to catch up now with the neighbourhood plans. Well, the neighbourhood plans will be central focus of our new borough plan as we go forward, and I encourage any parished areas to get, if they haven't already or are in the pipeline, to get those done and get them forward, because they will feed in and complement the local plan as we move forward on the process. As of the next few days, we can get working on the new borough plan in earnest. Right, I'm going to ask Jill Waring to come in now. He's got a hand up.
Thank you, Leader. A lot's been said about this, but I'd just like to thank Councillor Northcott for explaining it so well. I think if by doing this, it just makes sure we have the most appropriate local plan for Newcastle, and I support it, and we have to do the best we can for our own people. So thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Helena?
Thank you, Leader. Again, pretty much anything I'm going to say has already been said, really. But after planning committee last night, it was encouraging to hear the enthusiasm from the other members with regards to this new local plan. You know, it's designed to support and benefit our residents and businesses in the area in its entirety, and therefore, you know, as long as it's suitable for our needs, I give my full backing to it. And I'd just like to take the opportunity to say thank you to all those involved to this point and beyond.
Thank you, Helena. In the room, Steve?
No, I just support the fact that we sat here for 7 years, whatever. When do you say no, enough's enough? Let's get this done. Let's make it happen. And that's the decision we made. I absolutely support it. It's just going on and on and on and on, and nothing seems to happen. And hopefully this will be the end. We'll get it done and we'll get it sorted. And it's not full time.
Okay, Trevor?
No, I'll just go along with it. What Councillor Northcote has said. He's asked the questions, he's answered the questions, and I think we're growing up enough that we can do this.
Okay, thank you. So recommendations before us as moved by Paul is that we withdraw from the preparation of the joint local plan with Stoke-on-Trent City Council and wish them the best on their route forward now on their own local plan, and commence work on the development of our own borough local plan under the stewardship of a member steering group chaired by myself, Paul, and any relevant portfolio that's included, and to make provision in the MTFS, as has already been done in the proposals we agreed earlier, for that amount to over the period 21-23. So with those recommendations, we all agree?
Agreed.
Excellent. Okay. Right, let's move on to our next item, which is the temporary accommodation policy, and Helena's going to introduce this for us. Over to you, Helena.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, the temporary accommodation policy, it's one that I endorse 100%. It comes at a time where we're putting in our statutory obligation to provide temporary accommodation, suitable temporary accommodation, I should say, as well, for are homeless or those who are threatened with homelessness in Newcastle and Lyme, who are therefore eligible for interim accommodation. This report actually went to the Health and Wellbeing Committee, Scrutiny Committee, on the 7th of December, who wholeheartedly supported it, and it's now in front of us to do the same. So I'll hand it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Any comments from members? Jill?
Thank you, Leader. You know, people can become homeless for all sorts of reasons, and sometimes through no fault of their own. It can be devastating, it's frightening, it must be possibly one of the worst situations you could ever find yourself in. Homelessness was part of my previous portfolio, and that experience has given me confidence that this council, we currently provide a really good service and we do help people. This policy is something that we do need to have. We need it to help make sure we have a fit for purpose service, and having a robust policy in place will make sure it continues to work properly. But more importantly, it strives to improve all of the options available for the people facing homelessness. So I'm pleased to endorse this policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Yeah, completely endorse all the comments there from both Helena and Jill on this, and I think we pride ourselves on how we help the homelessness and those looking for accommodation within the borough. We put a lot of money into it, so does the government, and even since the COVID crisis, the government have really delivered a lot of funding to ensure this area is taken care of from their point of view during this crisis. And going forward, we need that accommodation policy, which is before us today, which will help us to continue to do that. Bring in Paul.
Thanks, Leader. Yeah, I just want to echo the comments that have already been made, but just to add a few, that probably homelessness is probably the most stressful experiences that anybody could probably find themselves in terms of modern day challenges, and to be in this position to not function because you're worried about where you're going to live, or where your children are going to live, or relatives are going to live, is incredibly stressful at a time where the vulnerableness is its peak, to have that umbrella and that mechanism in place, that strategy to give assistance to those that are particularly vulnerable, but to find that temporary accommodation that is a little bit better than just paying for bed and breakfast. I think is essential, especially in the winter months where it particularly it's difficult to live for most of us, but to bear in mind for those that are homeless, it must be an absolute nightmare. Now, we can't obviously force this upon everybody, that there's going to be some that don't want to take the temporary accommodation. Of course, we've got to respect their wishes as much as possible, but it doesn't mean to say that we can neglect our responsibilities in terms of trying to persuade them to take temporary accommodation to provide that level of care and collective responsibility in terms of making sure that their health outcomes are met by having a roof over their head and not being exposed to the freezing cold temperatures of winter. So I really welcome this, and I welcome the work that was done by the previous portfolio holder, and thank her for her involvement with kicking this off. And of course, Helena, being the current portfolio holder, thank you for this report, which I support 100%, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Recommendation before us, the Cabinet approves the temporary accommodation policy, and the officers are supported to continue to develop a range of temporary accommodation options for the borough for further consideration as appropriate. All agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Moving then to the forward plan, which sets out our the 3 months ahead, obviously dominated by budgetary issues as we move towards setting of the budget, but some other important issues in there as well. Future High Street Funds update, Kids Grove Sports Centre update, as well as we move forward. Just ask Cabinet members if we're happy to endorse page 1, which is 239. Over the page at together, hold on, 240, and then there's hardly anything on 241, but that will take us through to our March cycle. All agreed, the forward plan?
Agreed.
Okay. Next item is urgent business. I don't have any. Item 13 is disclosure of exempt information. We don't have any of that on this. Oh, we do actually. I'm lying. Yeah, sorry. We have an item 14, which we'll come to in a minute. We'll refer back to that and go into private session, but I just want to handle the last couple of items. We haven't had any councillors asking to speak at this Cabinet meeting or public attendance. So moving back to item 13, disclosure of the public. This is for the scale of fees and charges confidential appendix. So if we all agree that we exclude the public? Agreed. But end the webcast.
We can do the necessary.